You know what they say, change is the only constant, and law is no exception. To stay relevant, laws also must change with time. If that is true, Indonesia is risking irrelevance. It's also risking tourism, a sector that contributes nearly 5% to the country's GDP. Case in point being Indonesia's new criminal code, one that the country's parliament is expected to pass later this month. This criminal code penalizes sex outside marriage. It reads, and I'm quoting, anyone who has intercourse with someone who is not their husband or wife shall be punished for adultery with a maximum imprisonment of 1 year or a maximum fine of category 2. Regressive much? Well, there is more. The code has provision for parents to lodge a complaint against their own children, accusing them of premarital sex. And this is just one of the many things problematic with this law. Here's another. The law bans cohabitation before marriage. As in, you cannot live with your partner in Indonesia without being married. Critics fear that the law could be used to target members of the LGBTQ community. Why? Because same-sex marriage is not legal in Indonesia. It may be the right time to point out that the law applies to citizens and foreigners/tourists alike. And just a reminder that Bali is still very much in Indonesia. Some 15 million international tourists go to Indonesia every year. Places like Bali are Instagram favorites. They draw partygoers from around the world. And Indonesia needs these flights to keep landing because tourism and the 18 billion odd dollars it makes from tourism every year remains one of the main sources of foreign currency for the country. But is Indonesia helping its own case by bringing in such regressive laws? Clearly not. This new criminal code has been decades in the making. It was supposed to be passed in 2019, but the draft was leaked, and the details sparked nationwide protests. It's not hard to understand why. The people of Indonesia oppose the idea of the state barging into private space or encouraging moral policing and vigilante activities. Protesters say the laws encourage raids of houses, boarding house, apartments, and other private spaces. Indonesia's current criminal code is known as KOP or Kitab Undang-Undang Hukum Pidana. It dates back to 1918 when Indonesia was a Dutch colony. In 1946, Indonesia became independent. It adopted the old laws, and over the years, the criminal code became a mix of Dutch law and modern Indonesian law. It also resulted in many contradictory laws, and the new criminal code aims to make changes to the existing law. There will be additions, deletions. Some of the content will be expanded. Indonesia's Deputy Justice Minister, Edward Omar Sharif, believes that the proposed criminal code is in line with Indonesian values. Like most of you already know, Indonesia is the world's most populous Muslim country. But my point, or rather question here is, where does this proposed law leave your right to privacy? Should a country even be allowed to cite religion or value to infringe on your basic rights? You know, Indonesia will not be the first to do so. Sex outside marriage is criminalized in Pakistan as well. Its penal code reads, a man and a woman not married to each other are set to commit fornication if they willfully have sexual intercourse with one another. It goes on to say whoever commits fornication should be punished with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 5 years and shall also be liable to fine not exceeding 10,000 rupees. Iran is also a member of this club. In Iran, sex outside marriage equals to flogging. And then you have Qatar, the host of the ongoing FIFA World Cup. It also criminalizes sex outside marriage. Let me show you something that is the UK's travel advice for those flying to Qatar. Look at what it reads. Any intimacy in public between men and women, including between teenagers, can lead to arrest. Living together while unmarried, prohibited in Qatar, and sex outside of marriage, regardless of whether this is same-sex couples or opposite-sex couples, is illegal. And this can lead to arrest and a potential court case where the judgment can include a fine, a custodial sentence, and deportation once the sentence is complete. Due to the laws on sex outside marriage, if you become pregnant outside marriage, both you and your partner could face imprisonment and or deportation. I leave you with the same question. Where do laws like these leave your basic right to privacy? Should we be okay with countries dictating what people do in their personal spaces? Should political parties be allowed to cater to vote banks who think it's okay to moral police, even if it comes at the cost of the country's own economy? What will it take for countries like Indonesia to change this mindset and change with the times? WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.